Welcome to the Sports Card Hustle.
Hey everybody, this is Michael coming to you with another episode on the Sports Card Hustle channel, where we're going to talk to each and every one of you today about what you should know when it comes to sports card grading companies. That's right, we're going to talk today about what you should know when it comes to sports card grading companies. Specifically, we are going to cover 5 things. But before we get into this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below, because it really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm and lets other sports card collectors, other sports card investors, or other people trying to enjoy the hobby we all love know that this video is for each and every one of them too. Now we're going to get into the things that you need to know when it comes to sports card grading companies, specifically BGS, SGC, and the 500-pound gorilla in the room, which is PSA. Starting with number 1, and that is the fact that you need to know that each of them have their own rating systems. Now, PSA makes it very simple, probably the easiest of the bunch, because they only deal in whole numbers. So you can get a PSA 8, a PSA 9, or even a PSA 10. So they're strictly dealing with whole numbers on a 1 to 10 scale. Now, SGC and BGS does it a little bit different because they have subgrades. That's right, they have subgrades. So you can get a SGC or BGS 7, but you can also get an SGC or BGS 7.5. Same goes for 8. You can get an 8 or an 8.5 or a 9 or a 9.5. They all have different grading systems. Now, PSA does keep it the simplest, in my opinion, only dealing in whole numbers, but a lot of collectors and investors love seeing subgrades as well. So you need to be aware of the fact that they all have their own rating systems, but they also have a lot of similarities. The number 2 thing you need to be aware of is what criteria do they actually use to grade these cards. And all 3 of the major grading companies use centering. You've probably heard that term very often throughout the sports card community. Centering. We're actually going to do a video on what is centering and how to determine good centering in a future post. But you got to know that they all look at centering. They all look at the sharpness of the edges. They all look at corners, and they all look at the surface. So that is one thing that all grading companies have in common. They all look at your centering. They all look at your corners. They all look at your edges, and they're definitely going to look at the surface as well. So that's a commonality that they all share. Now, going into the third thing that you need to know about grading companies is there's a great debate. Some people like getting cards graded, some do not. It all goes back to the fact that trustability within third card grading companies has been subject to some harsh claims and scandals along the way. So people have lost their ability to have faith in some of these grading companies, specifically PSA, because if you know anything, they were involved in quite a few trimming scandals, which essentially is a way to cut corners or cut down cards to get them higher grades and have a better appearance. So you got to be aware that these companies are only, and I repeat, only as good as the trust that they have with the community. So some people used to grade with PSA, but now they refuse and will only grade with SGC, which is very interesting because the fourth thing you need to know when it comes to these grading companies is the fact that comparable grades in PSA typically go for a premium over the SGC or BGS counterparts. Now, I know what you're thinking. A BGS 10 can typically go for more than a PSA 10, but a lot of people consider a comparable grade in BGS a 9.5. So a 9.5 BGS is typically going to sell for a lot less than a PSA 10. And that is something you need to be aware of. But what makes it the most interesting is if the demand for a specific grading company increases and the demand for another grading company, such as PSA, decreases over time, there could be a new 500-pound gorilla in the market. So don't put all your eggs in one basket, because what is hot today might not be hot tomorrow. And overall, the collectors, the investors, are going to determine and decide where they're going to put their hard-earned dollars, and that will determine who is still reigning king 10 years from now. So the trustability factor could be even more huge down the line. I'm already starting to see more people talk about SGC. They love the look of a card on the black slab, and they're having some really great turnaround right now, and people are very excited with the experiences they have been having with SGC. So PSA is the 500-pound gorilla in the room right now, but it might not always be that way. So I hope you guys learned a little something about grading companies today. We really covered the big three. Outside of that, I don't think you should be grading cards with anybody else. So make sure you stick with SGC, PSA, and BGS if you are going to get your cards graded. This has been a fun episode for me to record because we're actually in my office today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe down below as always. Support the channel. We appreciate each and every one of you out there. Make sure you stay safe, stay healthy, stay blessed. And until next time, my friends,